Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first time home buyer seminar. We have two presenters today. I have Antrone Dailey, who is a mortgage coordinator with Annie Mac Mortgage. And I also have Mr. Jessie L Crawford, who is the marketing and communications coordinator with a New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. My name is Sonia Brown, and I am an agent with United Realty. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about renting versus buying. But first, before I start, two things. I would like for you to hold your questions. Just jot your questions down and hold them towards the end of the seminar. And also, this meeting is being recorded. In case you don't want to be recorded, you have the option to turn your camera off. All right. So I'm going to hold on one second. Let me share my
actually buy. So if your income is $30,000, then sometimes we have to understand that you're not going to be able to buy a $400,000 house. And what we'll do is we'll talk about that a little bit later. But your income is going to determine where you're going to be able to buy. So we need credit, income, and property. Those are going to be the three things that we have to keep in the back of our mind. Now, when we're going to start this journey on home ownership, there's a couple of things that I normally tell my applicants to do. In order to start the application, I'm going to need you to have government issued ID. I'm going to need a copy of your social security card. I'm going to need 1 month of your pay stubs. So if you get paid every week, then I need 4 weeks of it. If you get paid every 2 weeks, then I just need 2 pay stubs. I'm going to need your last 2 years of W-2s and your last 2 years of tax returns. And a lot of times what we have to understand is that the W-2 is going to be the form that your job gives you at the end of the year. Your 1040s, your returns are going to be the documents that you send into the IRS. So we need to make sure we get that. And I'm going to need 2 months of bank statements. Now, in reality, those things, a lot of us are going to have at our fingertips, and we're going to be able to do it. But what I do with my applicants is I normally send them out a form. And if you're online now, and if you give us your email address, you plug it in, I'll make sure I send out the form to you. And the form basically has on it exactly what I just said. But what I ask you to do with this is to get a shoebox. Just get a plain ordinary shoebox, tape the flyer inside the shoebox, put all the information inside. So your taxes, put them in, your W-2s, put them in, your pay stubs, your bank statements. Every time you get paid, put it in the shoebox. Even if it's online, print it out, put it in so that you'll have it available to you. Because once you start this journey, you're going to need to have it in front of you. So I tell people, you start getting ready. So this one, we put inside the shoebox and we start to fill it out, and we check off every time. I have a lot of my applicants who actually come to the office with the shoebox. So they'll bring in the box and we'll copy everything there so that we know we have everything in place. And it's a lot easier than trying to download, print, and sometimes it's just easier just to come to the office, give it to me, I copy it, put it in, and now we have that out of the way. So the next one is Sonia put up I guess a rent roll of how much you're paying per year. We also have that flyer that we send out, and I tell you to put that one on your refrigerator. So every time you go into your refrigerator, you're going to see that I gave this landlord $1,600 last month. I'm giving him $1,600 this month, and I'm going to give him $1,600 next month. At the end of the day, those numbers start to add up. So you want to put that in front of you. So what that'll do for you a lot of times is going to motivate you to get started. And that's what I look at, trying to make sure that my applicants understand. And we're all available to make sure that we guide you and put you in the right space so that you can actually buy. Now, what's going to happen is this, and again, these are things that when you're looking at buying your house, one of the things you should do is just take whatever your income is. If your income is $60,000, just divide it by 12. And that's your budget for the month. So if you divide 60,000 by 12, you're going to end up with $5,000 a month. Now, $5,000 is a lot of money, but if you're going to try and buy a house, you're going to be looking at about, and these are just guidelines. Once all your information is together, sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit lower, but just take 29% of that 5,000. Whatever that number is, as Sonia said earlier, whatever your number is, that's going to be the number you're going to be looking at to try and get a mortgage within that price range. So a lot of times people will come and they'll say that it's that they should be able to qualify for more. And you know what? You might be able to, but a lot of times you're going to be based on the numbers that you actually have in front of you. That same $5,000, you're going to go back in. So you took 29% of the 5,000 on one piece. On the back side of it, go back in, and now you do 41% of your 5,000. So when you do that number, that's going to be your mortgage plus the debt that you're carrying. Those two numbers, if your income and the price of your house and your debt all are within those two numbers, then you should qualify for that mortgage. And what I just said probably was confusing, and it'll probably take a minute to do over and over and over. But again, I have flyers, I have paperwork. You email me, I'll email it back out to you. You can print and you can start doing your own little chart of what you need and how to make it go. My email address is real easy. It's myonlylender.com. So if you go to myonlylender.com, you'll be at my website. You'll have my email address. You'll be able to go in, calculate numbers. You can do whatever you want to do on that site. And it goes straight to me. So myonlylender.com, feel free. You can always go there, and it'll give you the information that you need. So the other thing I'm going to tell you is this, is that once you're starting to get into the mortgage buying experience, do not go out and buy a car. Do not quit your job. Do not go out and get a new credit card. Do not take the credit cards that you have and use. Life, when you're going into home ownership mode, a lot of times when you get pre-qualified by your mortgage person, he's looking at your situation as presented. So a lot of times you need to make sure that as presented stays throughout the whole process, so that at the end of the process, nothing is required. You gave all of the information up front, meaning your taxes, your pay stubs, your bank statements, you gave that up front. Every time you get a pay stub, you're going to give it to the loan officer. Every time you get a bank statement, you're going to give it to the loan officer. That way, everything is up to date. What I do for you is this, is if you're going to start on this journey of home ownership, feel free. You can always reach out to me. We do something that's called a pre-approval, not a pre-qualification, it's a pre-approval. That means that you give me those documents that I ask for. I will run you all the way through the system and to my underwriter and get you approved so that you're really walking around with a true approval in hand. So hopefully I kept it as simple as possible. What we're saying is this: you need three things. You need credit, you need income, and you need a property. That's what you need to have your mindset on when we start. Then you're going to need to supply four things. You're going to need to supply your pay stubs, your bank statements, your W-2s, and your tax returns, and photo ID. So that's 5 things. So if you put those things all together, you're ready to go. And believe it or not, home ownership and getting a mortgage is just that simple. If we all get prepared and we're ready to do it, it will flow just as I said. And I have another little flyer that says Loanopoly, and that just gives you the whole process from starting with me till the end to my underwriter. On that note, Sonia, I'm going to turn it back over to you. And again, thank you for having me be a part of this. You're muted. Sonia, you're muted.
Okay, so I'll say it again. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you joining us here today. Lastly, I have Mr. Jessie L Crawford from the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency to share some information with you. Jessie?
Thank you so much, Sonia, for having me. And again, Antoine, it's great to be with you again. We do a lot of seminars and conferences over the years, and it's always a pleasure to present with you. Again, my name is Jessie Crawford. I am the Outreach and Marketing Coordinator for the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. And I have a host of information I want to share with you all today. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Let me go back. Let me go back to the beginning and minimize that. So today I want to talk to you about maximizing first-time homebuyer opportunities with down payment assistance. Now, a lot has been shared so far about the process, what you have to do to become mortgage ready, some of the documents that you need to start gathering. And what I want to talk about is a little bit of statistics about some of the obstacles with renters, also what resources are available for those who have the issue of down payment funds and closing costs. A little bit about us. New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency provides fundable, affordable homeownership opportunities for New Jersey residents only. Now, we are a state housing finance agency, and we respond to New Jersey residents by implementing creative programs and establishing alliances that fund affordable home mortgages for first-time home buyers and for existing homeowners, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And we offer our programs through a network of approved lenders. A little bit of statistics. First-time home buyers make up 33% of all home buyers. And of that group, the age group between 25 and 34 account for 54% of all home buyers. 71% of all first-time home buyers were previously renting an apartment or a house. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the roadblocks and barriers to home ownership. Studies show the leading barriers why folks rent opposed to purchasing are: one, lack of down payment and closing costs, qualifying for a mortgage, the amount of debt they might currently have, whether or not their job is secure at this particular moment, or even whether or not they're ready to settle down in one place. And as most can attest to, most realtors in the state of New Jersey right now and all over the country, in most cases, there's not enough homes for sale, not enough inventory. Now this graph shows affording the down payment, 68% said that this was one of their barriers or their leading barrier. Qualifying for the mortgage, 53%. Debt comes in at 50%. Job security at 39%. Nearly 9 in 10, 88% low-income renters said having money for down payment and closing costs would be an obstacle to homeownership for them. Middle-income renters, 72% also indicated the same challenge. 62% of low-income and 39% of middle-income renters considered having funds as the major obstacle for them for home ownership. 53% of renters cited the inability to afford down payment as the reason why they rent. By far the most frequently and most cited explanation. And I think I have a solution for you today. Quick snapshot of some other blocks to home ownership. Expenses. 56% of first-time home buyers said student loans basically is what's hindering them from being able to buy a home or save money for down payment. First-time home buyers also said credit card debt at 34%, car loans at 36%, childcare, health costs, and others. Our agency has basically two foundational mortgage programs. The first one is called the first-time home buyer mortgage, and the second one is called the homeward bound mortgage. Now, they're both similar in a lot of ways, but they have some distinct differences, and I'll get into that in a minute. But our first-time home buyer mortgage provides competitive loan for eligible home buyers purchasing their first home in New Jersey. Both of these programs are 30-year fixed-rate government-insured loans, so the interest rate is not going to change over the life of the loan. And currently, for our first-time home buyer mortgage, the interest rate is 2.75%. And for our homeward bound program, homeward bound mortgage, it's 3.25%. Now, our interest rates are determined by our agency. We decide what those rates are each and every business day based on market conditions. The lenders, the approved lenders that we have in our pipeline or in our network do not dictate the interest rate to you as the potential home buyer. We, again, dictate the interest rate, and we send those interest rates out to our lenders each business day by 10 a.m. Now, the first-time home buyer mortgage, here are the requirements. The borrower must purchase and occupy a residential home in the state of New Jersey. Now, you could be moving from Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, looking to buy a home in New Jersey, but you're going to have to occupy that home in New Jersey as your primary residence for a set period of time, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Borrower must qualify and meet all requirements of our agency's first mortgage loan, which is originated through one of our participating lenders. The borrower must be a first-time home buyer. For the first-time home buyer mortgage program, you must be a first-time home buyer defined as someone who has not had an ownership interest in their current primary residence during the previous 3 years, okay? Qualified veterans do not need to be first-time home buyers, but cannot own another primary residence at closing. So if you're a veteran and you're looking to buy a new home, you currently own a home, you can utilize our mortgage programs and our down payment programs as long as you sell your primary residence prior to closing on your new home. Additional requirements for our program: minimum credit score is 620 or greater, and the debt to income ratios are 40 on the front and 47 on the back. Borrowers are required to have 2-month reserves of monthly mortgage payment, and I'll talk about that a little more in detail on another slide. And there are income limits, statewide household income limits. I'm going to show you the income limit sheet here. As you can see, our maximum income limits by county: for Atlantic, Burlington, 1 to 2 adults working in the household, the maximum household income limit is $103,300. 3 plus more adults working in the household meaning 18 years or older, unless they're in college full-time, then their income does not have to be counted. The maximum income for the Atlantic counties, Burlington, Camden, 3 or plus is $118,795,000. As you can see, the other listed counties and their income limits. And lastly, on this particular slide, borrower may not possess enough liquid assets to close the mortgage loan at 80% loan to value or less. Now, a little bit about our homeward bound mortgage, and I'm going to point out the distinct differences. Again, borrower must occupy a residential home in New Jersey. Borrower must qualify and meet all requirements of our first mortgage program originated through one of our participating lenders. And the borrower must be a first-time home buyer as defined as someone who has not had an ownership interest in their current primary residence during the previous 3 years. Qualified veterans do not need to be first-time home buyers, but must not own another primary residence at closing. And with this Homeward Bound mortgage program, it allows for higher debt-to-income ratios compared to the first-time home buyer program. And I'm going to show you on this particular slide, whereas the debt-to-income ratio for the first-time home buyer was 40 and 47. On this particular slide for the Homeward Bound, it's 40 and 50. 40 on the front, and 50 on the back. FICO score is the same, 620 or greater. And again, the borrower must have 2 months of reserves of the monthly mortgage payment. There are income limits that are a little bit different from the first-time home buyer. I'm going to show you those now. And all the links in my presentation, I will gladly email you these links if you wish to have these links. I will try, if I can, before this is all over, and post them in the chat. If not, I will give you my information before at the end of my presentation, so I can email you all this information and you can download it to your desktop and have it at your fingertips. And let me do a new share. And as you can see here, income limits for the Homeward Bound mortgage program, whereas Atlantic County and Burlington County before was somewhere around $113,000, I believe. As you can see here, the maximum household income is $144,620. And as you can see for Hunterdon, Middlesex County, Somerset, maximum household income is $167,300. And as stated for the first-time home buyer, if you possess enough liquid assets to close the mortgage loan at 80% LTV or less, then you will not qualify for our mortgage down payment assistance. Now, I want to talk a little bit about urban target areas. Urban targeted areas are designated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and each and every county has designated urban targeted areas. Now, buyers of homes located within urban targeted areas or qualified veterans do not need to be first-time home buyers, but must not own another primary residence at closing. I'm going to repeat that. So, buyers of homes located within urban targeted areas do not need to be first-time home buyers. But if you are currently a homeowner and you're purchasing a home in an urban targeted area utilizing our programs, you would have to sell that primary residence that you currently own prior to closing on your new home. Now, the benefits for purchasing the urban targeted area, obviously, it helps out folks who are existing homeowners. Also, it has higher income limits permitting you to qualify for the loan, and it also provides for higher purchasing prices that are permitted by underwriting guidelines. Now, this link on the bottom of this particular slide is what we call our site evaluator. And if you are purchasing a home in the state of New Jersey, and just waiting for this to load up, and you want to determine whether or not that home is in an urban targeted area, all you have to do is type in the address in the search box at the top of this particular web page, and it will return the values letting you know whether or not that particular home, that property is located in an urban targeted area. The legend over to the left will return an answer of yes or no, whether or not it's in an urban targeted area track. So it's a great tool for folks who are looking to find out where exactly their house is located on this particular map or site evaluator to determine whether or not it's in an urban targeted area. And really quick, on the bottom of this slide, the urban targeted area income limits, I'm going to show you really quick what they look like, And as you can see here, at the top, Atlantic County, 1 to 2 in the household, 123,960 is the maximum household income. 3+ family household is $144,620,000. Now, if you're looking for additional down payment resources, you can couple other resources with our down payment funds to have greater buying power to help cover your down payment and your closing costs. Downpaymentresources.com at the bottom of this particular slide is a great resource for folks looking for additional monies to help them with their home purchase. We don't own this site. Our agency doesn't own this site. We don't manage it, but it's a great resource for folks who are looking for additional funds to help them with their home buying costs. Also, if you need a copy of your credit report, you can utilize annualcreditreport.com. It's a resource to get you a free copy of your credit report once a year from all 3 credit bureaus. It's important that you understand what's on your credit, understand what your scores are at the moment, so you can make any adjustments, any corrections, and going forward, you're not going in blind. You know what you're working with, you know what your scores are, and whether or not you're going to qualify. This slide basically gives you a full snapshot of the differences between both programs. As I said earlier, a lot of similarities, but there's some distinct differences. Both have a minimum credit score of 620 or higher. The first-time home buyer has lower income limits, whereas the Homeward Bound has higher income limits. First-time home buyer has lower debt-to-income ratios. Homeward Bound has higher debt-to-income ratios. They're both 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. There's a lower interest rate for the first-time home buyer, opposed to a higher interest rate for the Homeward Bound, and that's because of some of the additional benefits, such as higher debt-to-income ratios. And also, borrowers are required for both these programs to complete a HUD-approved credit counseling course. You can find a HUD-approved counseling agency at HUD.gov, and I'll give you the link for that a little bit later on another slide. And the other great thing is that for both of these programs, you can purchase up to a 4-unit property with these funds and our down payment. And as long as you occupy one of those units as your primary residence, you can take advantage of our programs. So you purchase a duplex or 2-family, you live in one, rent the other one out. Now you got rental income or potentially someone else paying your mortgage. So it's a great opportunity for folks who are looking to get into not just a single family, but possibly 2 up to 4-family unit. Really quick, the requirements for our mortgage program: 3 years signed federal tax returns or 3 years transcripts, 30-day pay stubs, and 2 years W-2s are required for all adult household members. 2 months bank statements are required. As I said earlier, borrowers must have 2 months of reserves of monthly mortgage payments. Reserves can be in a personal account. It can be a gift from friends or family members. Also, it can be provided by way of a statement for your 401k or your pension or some other retirement statements that you might have. And you do not have to withdraw these funds. You just have to prove that you have these funds available. Now, agency loan proceeds from our down payment assistance program can't be used to pay down or reduce any debt in order to qualify for the mortgage. Also, it's possible that you can get up to $3,000 cash back at closing if there's an excess of funds for out-of-pocket expenses such as your earnest money deposit, the appraisal fee, the inspection fee, pest inspection, and your home buyer's course. Other certifications, if there's a well or septic certification is needed for that. Wood destroying pest inspection is needed. As I said earlier, HUD-approved credit counseling certification must be submitted for each borrower when the file comes into our agency for review. If the seller of the property is a business formation documents are required. If the seller is an estate, short certificate and death certificate are required, and power of attorney approval is required for the buyer or seller before a loan can go to approval or go to closing. I'm sorry, go to closing. Now, our agency is not the underwriter of the mortgage loan at all. Our agency provides the down payment funding for the qualified home buyer. All potential home buyers are qualified by one of our approved lenders, and that lender will pre-qualify you. That lender will collect all your documents. That lender will get you to closing. We review your file prior to closing for compliance to make sure the numbers are correct and everything is in order. And the initial review by our agency can take up to 5 business days. We do not typically use the 5 business days. And in some cases, we've gotten same-day approvals within hours. Now, typically, a lender will receive an initial decision within 1 to 2 business days. We encourage lenders to submit the file to our agency for review at least 10 days before the closing to allow for any resubmission of loan conditions. And provided that loan is submitted with all its documents, we will clear that file for closing. We will never delay the file for any reason on our side, okay? If the lender submits the full complete file and everything that goes with it, we will clear it, you will get the closing. Now, this is the meat and potatoes of the presentation. I've been kind of holding back my excitement. Our down payment assistance program is a program that will provide qualified home buyers $10,000 toward down payment and closing costs. So if you have issues with down payment and closing costs, we have the solution right here for you, $10,000 to help you with your down payment and your closing costs. Now think about this. If you're purchasing a home for around $200,000, all our programs are government insured programs such as FHA, VA, or USDA. FHA requires that you bring 3.5% to the table as a down payment out of your own pocket. If you're purchasing something at $200,000, typically your closing costs, down payment and closing costs will be somewhere around $8,000. We've already given you $10,000. So you have your down payment already at $10,000. And if you receive any other down payment assistance program grants, you can couple that with our $10,000. Several municipalities have down payment programs. The American Dream Down Payment Assistance Program is typically in each and every county throughout the state. They'll give you $5,000. Certain places, Trenton will give you $20,000 to purchase in Trenton. Irvington has a program. So each and every county typically has some type of down payment assistance program. The question is whether or not they will allow you to couple that with our program, okay? So you have to do a little homework on that, but the more money, the better for you as a potential home buyer. Now, our down payment program is what we call a forgivable loan. It's not a grant. It's a forgivable loan of $10,000 with no payments and no interest rate, okay? And as I said earlier, it can be coupled with any other down payment assistance program that you might receive from any other entity, as long as that other entity will allow it and it's within underwriting guidelines. We don't currently offer conventional mortgage lending right now, but I'm happy to say that within the next 3 to 4 months, we will. It's another great opportunity for potential home buyers in the state of New Jersey to purchase a home. So we're working to get to the point where we can offer a full suite of government insured loans and conventional mortgage lending. We would have had the conventional mortgage lending taken care of before the pandemic hit, but after the pandemic hit, it got put on the back burner. But within 3 to 4 months, we hopefully have that up and running. Now, the main caveat or the main requirement of our down payment assistance program is that if If the home buyer resides in the property as their primary residence after closing for 5 years without selling, without refinancing, or defaulting on the mortgage, this $10,000 is completely forgiven. I'll say it again, completely forgiven after 5 years, as long as you reside in the home without selling, refinancing, or defaulting on the mortgage. That's my definition of free money. I often say free money is the best money, and you do not have to pay it back. There's no payments over the 5-year period because it's a zero interest loan. Now, in the event that you receive the down payment funds, and for some reason you decide you want to move before the 5-year period is up, or default on the mortgage, or rent the home out, you would have to pay the full $10,000 back for the down payment assistance forgivable loan. I'm happy to say that we didn't always offer this, but you can utilize our down payment assistance and mortgage program for new construction. We didn't always have this option available. In the past, it would have had to been an existing home. Even if it was new, it had to be on the market for at least a year. Now you can utilize our funds to purchase new construction throughout the state of New Jersey that's going to be your primary residence for the next 5 years. Seller concessions, Sonia can tell you about that. If your realtor can work with the seller of the home to give you some type of concession to help with other costs that you may incur, you can couple the seller concessions with our down payment program. And in some cases, you may not need any additional funds for your closing or any money out of your own pocket, little or no money out of your own pocket to buy a home. Really quick, the eligible properties, I've been harping on this throughout the presentation. The property must be located in the state of New Jersey as your primary residence for the next 5 years after closing. The property must be a single family home or condo, townhome. It can be manufactured or a mobile home, but the mobile home has to be on a fixed foundation. It can't be something that you can just wheel from town to town. And lastly, on this particular slide, up to a 4-family dwelling you can purchase. One of the units must be occupied by you, the borrower, as his or her primary residence. HUD-approved credit counseling, as I mentioned earlier, is required. This link here will take you to HUD.gov. And at HUD.gov, you can actually put in your search requirements, zip code, and other information, and it's going to return HUD-approved counseling agencies in your area. It's going to tell you what type of counseling services they provide. 99% of them are all done online at this particular point. Once you complete your credit counseling, you will receive a certificate. That certificate is good for 1 year before it expires. A copy of that certificate is to be submitted with your loan package for review for closing to meet that requirement. And also that certificate, that course, some of these counseling agencies charge a small fee. Others, it's actually free. So you can actually ask them when you inquire whether or not their credit counseling has its fee or not. And just to wrap up, we have a valuable resource that we often give to realtors by way of a hard copy of this particular guide. And we actually have the PDF version of our guide, which is called The Road Home. And let me show you this guide. It's a great resource for anybody on the webinar here who has questions or just want to understand the guide to home ownership. The table of contents here shows step 1, the cost of home ownership. As we discussed earlier with Sonia's presentation, I talked about home buying counseling. It talks about getting pre-qualified or pre-approved for a mortgage, how to go about launching your home search. And it has links to mortgage calculators. It's a great resource for any home buyer, either you're a novice or first-time home buyer or someone getting back into the market to buy a new home and just need to touch up on things. I suggest you download this to your desktop. If you would like a hard copy of this, I can simply, message my mailroom staff to have them email you a hard copy. This is a great resource. Obtaining a mortgage, what to expect with the home inspection, how to prepare for closing. And the great thing is that there's a glossary of terms in the back of this particular guide. So if you come across or you hear a term during this process of your home buying, shall I say, journey, you can look to the back of this guide, look it up, and it should give you a full definition of what that term actually is. So it's a great resource. I implore you to download it to your desktop so you have it available to you should you need to go back and research anything during the process. Now, for anyone who's on this particular webinar, and you may be currently pre-qualified by a lender, and if that lender is not one of our approved lenders and you want to take advantage of our down payment assistance program, you can simply have your lender message sflenders@njhmfa.gov, and we will reach out to them, let them know what they have to do to get on our list. It'll take about a week for them to get signed up, and the process is very easy to do. Now, if you are someone who is on the webinar and you're ready to start the process, we have what we call our lender request form. I'm going to show you that here through this link. And what we will do for you, find a lender for you, get you paired up with one of our participating lenders. Basically, you're going to fill it out, your email, name, phone number, what county you're looking to purchase in, whether or not you're seeking down payment assistance. And we will then email you up to 3 of our top lenders. You can reach out to them once they email you or call you, or they will call you and email you either way. But if you're in a hurry and you get the information, you certainly can reach out to them, follow up with them. Again, for our programs, the lender does not dictate the rate. Everybody gets the same interest rate, whether or not you have a 620 score or a 720 credit score, the interest rate is the same across the board. If you do not wish to utilize this lender request tool, down at the bottom of this particular slide, there's a downloadable, printable list of our participating lenders, PDF format, and you can download it to your desktop and reach out to a lender on your own. This can be found on our website at nj.gov, and a lot of great tools here to help you through the home buying process. My contact information is on screen. Feel free to email me with any questions you might have, any requests you might have, if you need any docs, if you need any links to any of our websites. I will certainly get that back to you ASAP. Feel free to call me if you wish. Email is the best, most direct. But if you wish to leave me a voicemail, I will return the call as soon as possible. But email is the best way to reach me. That wraps up my part of this presentation. And I'm going to turn it back over to Sonia. You're muted. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessie. That was a lot of information, a lot of useful information. Now we're going to start our Q&A segment of the seminar. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask either Antrone, Jessie, or myself? You can use the hand raise button, and then I'll call on you and you can unmute and state your question.
Don't be shy. I know somebody has a question.
I'm going to make a comment, Jessie. How's that? So what Jessie went over is correct. I right now have one of my loans down with an MFA, and what they did, they're using the $10,000 from the MFA, and they're using a $5,000 grant from the city of Newark. So what it did for my buyer basically was, I think she's bringing $2,000 to the closing table based on putting the two grants together. And what we sometimes don't realize is that there are funds out there that we can utilize, and we just have to be ready to actually do the things that are needed to get us to that spot. So right now, if you're looking at putting the state program together along with a seller concession and still another grant also that you can put together, there are times that the actual applicants do not come to the table with funds. They use everything rolls right into it for them. So it's one of those things that it might be a little, you might have to do a little extra work, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. So right now, these opportunities are out there. We never know how long they're going to last because funds dry up, funds get used up too. So if it's one of the things that you're going to be using or contemplating, you might want to, at least get all the information and have all your ducks in a row so that if you have to push that button or when you're ready to actually push the button, it's a go. Well, Jessie, at the end of his, I just saw that in the chat box. So I was going to answer that one. Is that okay? So Jessie, at the end of Jesse's presentation, he gave us that list. And I think what he said was downpaymentresource.com will let you know about the other grants that might be able to be coupled with his program.
Right, and I also have indicated to folks, depending on where you're looking to move, reach out to the local municipality or township's website. And typically they have a link for housing, and look at what resources are available to purchase as an incentive to buy a home in that particular area.
I'd just like to add to that. Right now in the city of Patterson, there is a grant for $14,500, and it is available now. And if I'm not mistaken, they can use that in conjunction with yours, correct, Jessie?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All you have to do is go online, and the paperwork is online. You can fill it out. Antrone, the grant is available when you find your property, correct? So you fill out the application, and then when you find your property, that's when they start the ball rolling.
Right, because the grants normally will not allow you to start the process unless you have an actual contract and you have the information from the mortgage company that you're using, stating that you're buying this house and the cost estimate is included. So when you get that, then you can use it. You can start the grant process. And a lot of times you have to make sure that some of the grants that we're talking about, we have to make sure that they're going to be willing to be in the third position, because the mortgage company is going to be first, and then NJHFMA is going to be in second, and that next grant is going to be the third grant in. So we have to make sure that that grant allows them to be in the third position.
Okay, are there any other questions?
There was one question. Someone asked about the web address for our agency. It's njhousing.gov. I put it in the chat.
Okay, and for those of you that registered for the webinar and received a thank you email, that is my email address that responded to you. If you have any questions about anything that you've heard here, anything that you've heard me talk about or Antrone or Jessie talk about, you can reply to that email or send out an email, and then I'll make sure, I'll send you the contact information for everyone here on the email, and that way you can reach out to them if you haven't written it down already. I see Ms. Gray shaking her head. Oh, okay. All right, everyone. This will conclude our seminar. I am appreciative of everyone that took the time out to take part in it today. This is my first one, and I have to say it went very well. Just stay tuned. Next month, I'm going to try to do one every month on different topics. So just look out for it because it will be posted. And once again, I thank you very much. I thank you, Antrone, and I thank you, Jessie, for being a part of this with me also.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.